reason you're not hitting your targets in running is very simple. Whenever I look at people's training programs, it's a lack of structure and a lack of periodization, which is missing. And the reason I say that is because you need on a weekly basis to have certain factors in place. You need to be doing easy runs and recovery runs, but you need to be hitting the hard sessions, the harder sessions, which are the interval midweek session and the long run. You need to be hitting those hard so that you're building stamina and endurance, usually at the weekend when you've got most time available, and you're building speed and speed endurance on that midweek interval session. And those two sessions are spaced out enough so that you can recover fully from each and hit each one hard, because that's where you're going to get the most improvement and move forward. You need to define that because you need to know on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and throughout the training program, when you wake up in the morning, what am I doing? Is it a recovery run day? Is it an easy run day? Am I going to be running fast in an interval session? I've got to get ready for that. Is it a long run day? You need to know those things, because if you're going to count on motivation and getting up and thinking, do I feel like running fast today? Or do I feel like going far today? It's not going to happen regularly. And you need to be able to compare that feeling of running fast on interval day from the previous Wednesday, for example, to this Wednesday. You need to know what that 12 times 400 meters felt like and how you paced it and what you could have done better. And then you need to implement those learnings, those findings in the next Wednesday, this Wednesday, when you do 10 times 600 meters, that progression, that little bit of extra longer running, but hopefully you pace it better and you get more out of it. You get bigger super compensation, more improvement, so you move forward faster. And those learnings and those kind of, the recognizing the feeling, okay, it's interval day again, and I'm ready to go fast, I'm ready to push it, but I've got to kind of hold back, I've got to pace it right, so that first and second rep are as equally paced or the same level of effort as the final and penultimate lap. You've got to know how that feels, and that's going to be a regular feeling on a weekly basis that every Sunday it's a long run. Okay, 25K, how does that feel? And that segment of 10K within it where I was hitting marathon pace, how did that feel? And then how am I going to adjust the following Sunday? So you can make the adaptations on a weekly basis. The little changes you need to maybe hold back in that 10-kilometer segment because the previous long run that you did, you overdid it, and therefore you weren't able to hold the pace in the final 3-4 kilometers. So important to do that. But the most important thing is that you know when you wake up what you're supposed to be doing. Because if you're thinking, okay, let's look at a plan. Oh, okay, I'm going to need this kit and this kit and this. It's already kind of that kind of enthusiasm of knowing when you go to bed, what am I doing the next day? That to-do list, you're already on the back foot when you should be on the front foot, especially when you've got a key session, because that's going to involve you fueling as if you're running on race day. So on the midweek interval session and the weekend long run, that's your opportunity to practice your fueling strategy. So you're taking a gel every 20 minutes, or you're taking 500 mils of Maurten on an hourly basis. So what does that look like when you split it up into 10 minutes, or you split it up into 15-minute intervals, that drink? So how does that feel, and how does your stomach adapt to that, and how does your stomach go into your stomach, and then you're able to metabolize it and use it as fuel so that you can go faster, you can maintain your energy, and your muscles not breaking down as much. How does that feel? How does it feel during a long run when you've got to carry so much stuff? You've got to plan. And all those things coming together make, especially if you're the type of person, definitely the personality type that's gotten in and choosing to run a 5K or 10K or marathon or ultra marathon, then you're going to be the type of person that's methodical and enough to plan what does that actually look like when I've absolutely hammered it out of the park. Like, what does it look like when it's a 10 out of 10? What does it feel like when it's a 7 out of 10? How can I have done better? What did I do wrong? And that kind of constant self-appraisal or being super critical of yourself is really, really important for your progress, because essentially you're going to hit your target at some point. The important part of training is that you want to hit that target as soon as possible. So you want to move towards that optimally and as risk-free as possible. So of course, you can't run a marathon 1 hour quicker than you did last time. It's got to be more gradual than that, depending on where you're up to in your training. But it's got to be more gradual than that. So you've got to do it risk-free, but you want to hit it as soon as possible because you want to be then achieving more things. You want to be achieving more goals and aiming higher. So in order to do that, you've got to be thinking about what you do. And the easiest way to think about what you do in the moment and to be critical of yourself and analyze and constantly analyzing yourself is to know what you're doing on a daily basis. So usually I will set my training program out. I'll be thinking, okay, so the end of May I have a race, and in August I have another race. And these are different races in these different ways, and I need to train specifically in this way, and then I'll write a plan. And that will be a plan of 12 weeks, usually 10 weeks of focused, specific training towards that race, and then about 10 days to 14 days taper, just gradually reducing the volume but keeping the intensity, and then trying to peak properly. And with experience that becomes easy, peak properly for race day. But then before then, there'll be a period of maybe 8 to 12 weeks where I'm getting myself in really tip-top condition to start that training program, because I don't want to be starting on the back foot. I want to be on the front foot and ready to attack those first couple of weeks. So that then what you have the opportunity to do is that plan doesn't need to be set in stone. So if you've got a 12-week plan and 10 weeks is focused, that means 10 interval sessions, 10 long runs. If you start to really perform and you're thinking, actually, that was quite easy, that session, so I'm gonna add it in a little, you've got to have a really good kind of view. You've got to be self-aware enough to, and working with a coach really helps here, but they'll be able to push you along, and you can even be able to push yourself along if it's too easy for yourself. There's times when you can kind of pinch fitness. You can take a little bit of fitness extra by doing a little bit extra, running a little bit faster, because you've got it in you. So you don't need to keep that 12-week training program set in stone, but in order to start, you need to write that so that you know what you're doing on a daily basis. And like I've said, you know what that speed session feels like on a Wednesday. You know what that long run feels like on a Sunday, and you can compare it to just 6-7 days ago. Super important, and it's gonna make you fly. It's really, really important. If you insert that into your day-to-day running, you're gonna move forward much faster, and you're gonna obtain your goal faster, which means you can then aim higher.